Hi, I'm Steve Adubato, and it is our honor for this entire program to be joined by United States Senator, the senior United States Senator in the great state of New Jersey. Robert Menendez is also the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee in the United States Senate. Good to see you, Senator.
Good to be with you, Steve. I'm glad that we're gotten together once again.
Absolutely. Listen, we are taping as we begin going to May 2022. This will be seen a little bit after, so it's risky to even have this conversation. But if people want to watch the news, it's NJ Spotlight News, it's Metro Focus. They'll tell you what's going on every day, particularly in the world of on the public broadcasting side. Bigger picture, though, long term, we don't know about Ukraine, how things are going to play out. But you've been very clear in public about the role you believe the United States has, not just in supporting Ukraine, but also dealing with Ukrainian refugees. Please share, Senator.
Well, Ukraine is far bigger than just the question of Ukraine, although in the first instance, of course, its independence, its freedom is essential. And we have a large Ukrainian diaspora in New Jersey. But the reason I tell average New Jerseyans and Americans why Ukraine is important is because we cannot have another Munich moment. In 1938, Neville Chamberlain, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, said to Hitler, "We'll give you Czechoslovakia," and he thought that would be the end of it. Well, we know history is different. And so we've seen with Putin. In 2008, he invaded the country of Georgia. In 2014, he took Crimea. The West did not respond in any assertive way, gave him a slap on the wrist, and that was it. And he said, well, I can continue to do this. And now we have Ukraine. So we cannot afford for this march to go on as he tries to recreate what was the Soviet Union. We have commitments under our NATO treaty to defend NATO allies that are right along Russia's border, Poland, Lithuania, and Estonia and other countries. So we must stop them there and help Ukraine preserve their freedom. At the same time, we must send a message to the rest of the world that as we're urging them to be good neighbors to Ukrainian refugees, that we also will accept Ukrainian refugees. And I admire the president answering my call to do that, not only on a temporary protective status, but also opening up our refugee program to be able to take a significant number of Ukrainians.
I'm going to come back to the issue of immigration in Title 42 in just a couple of moments, but I want to ask you this about Putin. And again, our programming is not about what's happening today. We cannot predict the future. But that being said, putting things in perspective, Senator Menendez, in your lofty perch as the chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and also, frankly, dealing with these issues for years, what could and should, not just President Trump, but President Obama have done? What could and should they have done potentially have avoided where we are today? Or do you believe Putin is Putin, is going to do what he wants to do, and it doesn't matter what a U.S. president does or doesn't do?
Well, look, Putin is KGB. He's a thug, and he only understands strength. But in both cases of your question, when Obama was president, had we severely sanctioned and brought the international community together as President Biden has now, when Putin invaded Crimea, things, I think, would be different because there'd be a different calibration of the consequences to Russia. But we did not. And then when President Trump actually held up Zelensky, didn't provide him with the armament he was seeking, insisted that he give him a favor, as he said it famously, which was to try to find dirt on President Biden's son in return for getting the type of assistance and the White House meeting he needed to show Russia that the United States was behind Ukraine. He ultimately sent Russia the wrong message. So in both cases, there were bad signals, and I think we'd be in a different place today. Having said that, I do admire President Biden for bringing an international coalition together in the shortest period of time I've ever seen in 30 years of doing foreign policy, in keeping it together, in deepening the sanctions, and tightening the noose around Putin's neck, creating consequences because of Putin's actions to the Russian people that ultimately, I hope, will change the course of events in Ukraine.
Some have argued that President Biden should be more assertive, more aggressive, more engaged, and frankly, tougher. The question becomes, it's not whether, I don't know, and I don't even know if you have an opinion on this, but it's more a question of how tough can we be before we risk engaging Russia and Putin more directly and risk something much worse, a war, and a war with unfathomable consequences. Senator?
Well, Steve, your question is a great question, and is the question of the moment. First of all, for those who say that President Biden isn't tough enough, well, it's under President Biden that over $3 billion of lethal defensive equipment has gone to Ukraine. That didn't exist before, certainly not in those capacities. Secondly, it is President Biden that bought an international coalition that ended the Nord Stream pipeline that Russia so desperately wanted, that bought international sanctions against Russian banks, the Russian foreign currency, against the Central Bank of Russia, against many of the oligarchs. And so those are all tough. At the end of the day, the question becomes, for those who advocate that we intervene militarily in Ukraine, that means very clearly a war with Russia. And I do not think that at this point in time, the American people, after 20 years of wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, are ready to go into a war where we have not had direct aggression against us. So I think the president is doing everything that one can do without sending America's sons and daughters into Ukraine.
I'm going to talk about a whole range of urban issues because we're doing a series called Urban Matters in cooperation with some the folks at Kean University. But real quick, you mentioned Afghanistan. Could I get a minute or less on the withdrawal from Afghanistan? Do you acknowledge, do you agree that the withdrawal was poorly planned and poorly executed?
I think that the withdrawal was in the making when President Trump dramatically drew down our forces, when he gave the Taliban 5,000 prisoners that were in the Afghan government's jails. He released 5,000 prisoners, and he told the Taliban a date certain upon which the United States would leave. That's what President Biden inherited. So understanding that, I think the decision that the president made was right. I think the execution was poor. And I have said that at hearings at the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. But it was in the works based upon what President Trump created.
So, as I said, we're doing this series on urban matters. You're a product of an urban community, Union City. You come out of that city, as I come out of Newark, and a whole range of people watching who either come from a city, living in a city, care about urban issues. As it relates to urban issues, Senator, what would you say the top 2 or 3 issues are that you and your colleagues are dealing with in the Senate as it relates to the cities of America? Please, Senator.
Well, some of these go to the heart of living in urban centers, but they also are more significant. One of the questions is, how do we make life less costly, right? Because for urban centers, most of the time, you'll see that the economies of individuals in those centers are less than the states as a whole. And so how do we, make childcare more affordable? When $13,000 is the cost of childcare for a family of median income of $85,000 in New Jersey, well, that's not tolerable. And it doesn't allow one of the spouses to ultimately go ahead and go into the workforce as they desire to do so, or return to the workforce after COVID. We have to make childcare more affordable. We have to make energy costs more affordable. We have to be able to preserve the dream of home ownership, which is the single biggest asset that most New Jersey and American families will have to build upon wealth and create intergenerational possibilities. And that's what I do as a member of the Senate Banking and Housing Committee. I'm focused on that. On the Finance Committee, I'm focused on child care costs and then also healthcare costs. We made great steps forward under the Affordable Care Act, but we have yet to really achieve all of the elements, both on coverage as well as in affordability. And those are 3 big tranches of things that I think are critical for moving forward and having a better quality of life in our urban centers, but beyond as well.
But Senator, I want to go back to the topic of childcare. We're also engaged in a public awareness initiative around childcare issues. It's called Reimagined childcare. We're not advocating for, but we are talking about the need for quality, affordable, accessible childcare. You have been directly involved in this issue as a United States Senator. Please talk about it.
Well, one of the things we want to do is legislation that I'm sponsoring that would make sure that childcare for working families, it's called, that no one would pay more than 7% of their income if they're at medium income, which in New Jersey is about $85,000. The reality is that makes childcare far more affordable. We have to look at some of the tax incentives to help middle class and working families with childcare costs. And we had an enormous number of childcare centers close during the pandemic. I visited one in Newark that is still open, but dramatically downsized from where it was. High quality childcare. Now we're talking about not just keeping your child minded, but educating your child at the same time. And so those are all elements that we're working on to have high quality childcare that is affordable, that gives parents the wherewithal to make life decisions about work and other things, and that prepares a child at the most important stages of their life for future growth.
Hello, I'm Dr. Luke Ironman, a family medicine specialist at Holy Name. When was your last visit to your primary care doctor? Throughout the pandemic, many patients have put off their annual physicals and screenings, but preventative healthcare is critical for early detection of illnesses and to avoid future health problems. Your doctor can also help you develop a wellness plan to achieve your personal health goals. Your health can't wait. Be proactive and talk to your primary care doctor today about scheduling your annual physical.
Also brought to you by Kane University, where Cougars climb higher. The Turrell Fund, supporting Reimagined childcare. IBEW Local 102, lighting the path, leading the way. Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, here when you need us most, now and always. Holy Name, this place is different. Veolia, resourcing the world. NJM Insurance Group, serving New Jersey's drivers, homeowners, and business owners for more than 100 years. New Jersey Sharing Network, and by New Brunswick Development Corporation.